I think my story, I think I could be considered a poster child for medical misadventure to begin with, because I was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Turns out that was not a correct diagnosis, but they did cut me open from here to here in a very dangerous and risky operation. The surgeons found out that my pancreas was inflamed, but there was no tumor. Unfortunately, as a side effect of that surgery, I developed a disease called sclerosing cholangitis, which is a fatal disease. It's similar to cirrhosis or any of the other liver diseases. When I first came to Hippocrates in 1998, I weighed probably 100 pounds. I had fresh staples in my abdomen from the surgery, and I was on the list for a liver transplant taking bile thinners. I decided of my own volition at one point, after waiting on the list for liver transplant, getting sicker and sicker and sicker. Every few months they would do an operation where they would put a stent into my liver to clear the blockage. I wasn't living a very good life. I was completely jaundiced and I wasn't getting any better. So I decided, based on everything I learned here at Hippocrates, that the doctors were wrong about me the first time. They were probably wrong the second time. And despite what the Mayo Clinic told me and what all the best surgeons in Canada told me, and their exact words were, either you get a new liver or you die, I decided to follow my own path, which was to go a completely wheatgrass-based diet. I followed the Hippocrates protocol like it was my full-time job. It wasn't just diet. I also exercised. I did the rebounder religiously. I swam. And I think if the one thing that got me through it, and again, even looking back, I'm not even sure what gave me this assurance, was I was absolutely positive I was going to be fine. I'm not sure where that came from, but I believe it was as important in my recovery as anything else. So when the doctors told me, you have cancer, I didn't believe them. Miraculously, I didn't. When they told me you have sclerosing cholangitis and you need a liver, I didn't really believe them. Now, I don't want to encourage anyone who really does need a new liver to go through that with that surgery, but I stand before you today, many years later. I'm training for a 5K swim. I still do wheatgrass. I still do my juices every day. I'm still on that rebounder, and it really, really worked for me. Okay, I think one of the things that really helped me when I was first given this diagnosis was that I had always swam my whole life. My favorite form of competition was long distance swimming, and you lay down a lot of muscle mass as a kid because I was swimming ever since I was young. So even when I got very emaciated and sick, that muscle mass was there from swimming for years and years and years. More importantly, there was an internal discipline of facing a long distance challenge, and it was a discipline, the same discipline that makes you go to the pool every morning, the same discipline that makes you keep going that extra mile when you're kind of tired, was the thing that kept me going on when I was very ill, with that end goal in mind of good health. So I think if you have ever done a sport in your life, you're going to go into this in a better place, perhaps, just because you've got the mental ability to focus on a goal. It really did help me. Well, what I did was long distance swimming. So you're in the ocean. You don't see the other competitors. You don't see anyone around you. You've only got yourself. So nobody's there telling you to do it. So I was, and the battle, or sorry, I don't want to use the word battle, but the struggle, the journey that I had within my illness was a very personal one. So that ability to just go that distance was, you're all on your own out there in the water, and the same thing was I felt I was on my own. Even though I was surrounded by doctors and everybody, I had my goal in mind. I was very single-minded about reaching that goal, which was health and, vitality. Okay, so all I can tell you is when I was swimming in the ocean, and that's where I love to swim more than anything, you can't see anyone else around you. It's a very, very interesting place to be in the world. It's a uniquely tranquil place. You feel your breath. It's almost like a form of meditation. I think runners talk about the same thing. But feeling the ocean around you is remarkably calming, even when you're going long term. So when I was at my very sickest, I would visualize what that felt like to be in the ocean and being surrounded by that. And that visualization really did keep me going. At some of my toughest, darkest hours, I would just swim like therapy. I was lucky enough to be able to swim a lot, and I just think it's a great form of therapy. Anyone that does any sport, you know what it takes. It takes discipline, because sometimes you don't want to go to the pool at 6 in the morning in the winter, or sometimes you don't want to necessarily, go running when it's cold, but you develop that mental discipline and you become aware of the fact that it has its own rewards, and that, so when I was in the health battle, I swam. So swimming is a unique form of exercise in that I was out in the water all by myself. There was no one else around me, and yet I had to tell myself to keep going. There was no one standing by me saying, keep going. I was saying, you got to swim that extra mile. It's a very unique personal discipline that really served me well when I was facing doctors and constant operations and stents being put down my throat and general anesthetic. That determination that I learned from years and years of swimming. And I still swim now. I'm training for a 5K. So that's really good news. It's something you can do your whole life. But I think anyone that does any sport will understand that discipline that I'm talking about. And I wish Hippocrates would get a proper long lap pool.